portion, it says, "V'nikdashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael," that may I be sanctified in the midst of the Jewish people. When the rabbis were employing the methods of interpretation of the Torah, they came to understand that when Jews are doing holy things, such as communal prayer, it has to be done in the presence of 10 people. And they use, as I mentioned, these modes of interpretation to understand that the word in the midst or in assembly from other locations in the Torah where the number 10 is specific, that it applies as well in our situation here where God says, when I'm to be made holy or to be sanctified, it has to be in the presence of at least 10 people. The question is, where are these places that the rabbis learn and employ the interpretation from where we learn that it has to be at least 10? And there are two such situations. One story is the story of the spies. The 12 spies that went to look at the land of Israel and scout it out to tell them what would be the best place to start the attack and what would be the best way to eventually capture the land of Israel. And the other story is from the 10 sons of Jacob who went to Egypt to find food. So the first question we can ask is that when we talk about the story of the spies, we know that from the 12 spies, only 2 came back with a positive report. The other 10 had a lot of negative things to say about Israel. So much so that they were really the cause of an outcry from the Jewish people that eventually was the reason why the Jews remained in the desert for 40 years. Why would we learn from a story that talks about 10 people that had such a negative influence and impact on the history of the Jewish people? Why would we learn that that's why we need 10 for a minyan, for prayer? Prayer is a good thing. Why learn it out from something that was negative? And secondly, why from the story of the 10 sons of Jacob, which also has a negative slant to it, the fact that they had to leave the land of Israel, Canaan, to go to Egypt, which ultimately also brought about this interim time of discomfort for them and the unknown for Jacob, until finally Joseph revealed his identity to them. So the answers are as follows. When we pray, we need 10 Jewish people. We don't need 10 righteous people. We need 10 Jewish people. In fact, the word sibur in Hebrew for community has 3 letters, tzadik bet resh, and each of those 3 Hebrew letters are the first letters of 3 words: Tzaddik, Benini, and Rasha. The righteous, the intermediate, and the evil person. A community, you don't get to choose your community. A community has all types. Some might be considered by others as being tremendously righteous people. Some might be considered only mediocre. And some, God forbid, may even be considered as not nice people. But a community is made up of all types. And when you want to have a minyan, when you want to have a service, and you need 10 people, guess what? 9 righteous people will just not do it. But 10 not so nice people, they make your minyan. It tells us that when it comes to the collectivity of the Jewish people, we need everybody. It doesn't matter what level you are at, you can help make a minyan. You can make us feel whole. And the second lesson we can learn from the story of Jacob and his sons going to Egypt. What they go to Egypt? The going down to Egypt represented the beginning of all the exiles. But yet, why do they go to Egypt? For nourishment. The Hasidic, the mystical scholars tell us that was the beginning of the purpose of all the exiles of the Jewish people. Was only so that we can have nourishment, so that we can grow and we can become the best that we can be. And that's also the idea of a minyan. When 10 people are getting together, and we're all from different walks of life and all different levels of what we might consider sanctity and holiness. The purpose of getting together is that each and every single one of us brings out the best in one another. And ultimately, we see this, that in Israel, especially now, people from all walks of life are coming together to form this beautiful Minyan, this beautiful quorum of Jews. And they're accomplishing two things: realizing that we cannot be without each other, independent of how different we look. And secondly, in our times of exile, we need to nourish off each other. We need to be able to benefit from the difficult times so that we be rid of them once and for all. Have a good Shabbos.